And as we expect large amounts of rain and potential severe weather starting late tonight, Huntsville's Director of Public Works is urging residents to take steps now to keep stormwater flowing. Chris McNeese says there are several simple things you can do to improve drainage around your home. First, secure your empty trash bins so they don't flow into the street and block drainage. Remove any debris like dirt, rocks, or leaves from curbs and gutters. You can also check your local ordinances for storm preparation guidelines.
Well, obviously, we want to keep our drainage features clear, keep them so that they will not obstruct any stormwater that's trying to make its way to the inlets, and that's to minimize the hazards in the roadway so that our traveling public can make it home safe.
McNeese says city services include trash pickup will continue as normal tomorrow despite the weather. He's reminding everyone to stay weather aware and be careful if you're out on the roads.
Another shooting by federal agents of people inside a vehicle, this time in Portland, as we learn more about the ICE agent that killed a person here in Minneapolis. Protests and vigils around the country Thursday in response to the shooting death of a woman in Minneapolis by an immigration and customs enforcement agent, deepening tensions over the Trump administration's immigration crackdown.
ICE is killing people, and that's why I'm out here.
37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, a U.S. citizen, was shot and killed Wednesday by an ICE agent while seated in the driver's seat of her car. The federal government has described Good's actions as domestic terrorism, with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claiming Good tried to, quote, weaponize her vehicle.
You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them.
But local and state officials have strongly rejected that description and have blasted the rush to judgment.
It's beyond me that apparently from the federal government, from the Homeland Security Director herself, has already determined who this person was, what their motive was, and they hadn't even been taken out of the vehicle.
And while people in Minnesota are pushing for a transparent investigation, Oregon officials are investigating a separate shooting in Portland by a Border Patrol agent that wounded a married couple in a car Thursday.
We are calling on ICE to halt all operations in Portland until a full and independent investigation can take place.
And we are learning that the investigation into the deadly ICE shooting in Minnesota, the investigation between state and federal authorities fell apart because of mutual distrust. Meanwhile, the governor of Minnesota is calling for a day of unity here. In Minneapolis, Brian Abel reporting.
We are all shaken and outraged.
Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents.
Oregon's governor and Portland's mayor reacting after two people were shot by federal agents in Portland Thursday.
A male and a female with apparent gunshot wounds. The patients were transported to local hospital, and their conditions at this time are unknown.
According to a senior law enforcement official, agents from a special operations unit for Customs and Border Protection tried to stop a vehicle with a suspected Tren de Aragua gang member. During the stop, the vehicle began to drive away, striking an agent, the official said. Shots were fired, hitting the vehicle.
It looks like Kohler saying that he was shot twice by ICE and his wife was shot as well.
No agents were injured. The Department of Homeland Security said in a statement that an agent, quote, fired a defensive shot after the driver allegedly tried to run the agents over. Portland's mayor had this to say about the administration's description of what happened.
We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past. We are calling on ICE to halt all operations in Portland until a full and independent investigation can take place.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Now, the Tennessee Valley's certified most accurate forecast from the Fox 54 Weather Impact Team.
And a good Friday morning to you. I'm Fox 54 Weather Impact Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. We're probably already talking about some showers and thunderstorms across the Tennessee Valley this morning. Bear that in mind as you head out the door for work. You're going to want to allow yourself a couple of extra minutes. Today is, of course, a Fox 54 Weather Impact Alert Day because we're going to continue to talk about showers and thunderstorms as we head into the afternoon, the evening, and then even as we head into the overnight. Rainfall totals are going to be extremely high in specific locations across the Tennessee Valley, but everybody is talking about well above average rainfall over the next 24 hours or so. With that in mind, a flood watch is already in effect for all of North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee, and that flood watch is going to run until noon on Saturday. I do believe flooding is going to be a really big concern, whether we're just kind of talking about area-wide flooding or specific flash flooding in the flood-prone locations. As that rain continues to fall through the course of the afternoon, and then as we head into the evening, flooding is going to be a bigger and bigger concern. And then especially as we head into the overnight, and flooding becomes even more dangerous when you're talking about nighttime flooding. Now, models have begun to trend a little bit further to the south with the axis of heaviest precipitation. Not far enough to the south that we're avoiding all of this, we're obviously talking about it, but far enough to the south that the axis of heaviest precipitation might not affect far northwest Alabama and might not affect our friends up across southern Middle Tennessee. That being said, those folks are still going to get 1.5 to 2 inches, maybe upwards of 2.5 inches. Everybody else across the Tennessee Valley is going to get 2 to 4 inches of rain. Where it looks like the heaviest precipitation is going to end up establishing itself is across northeast Alabama. Jackson, DeKalb, down into Marshall counties, Morgan County, Coleman County. Those folks are looking at 4 to 5 inches of rain. Locally, those folks could be looking at 5 or 5.5 inches of rain through the course of the afternoon, the evening, and then even as we head into the overnight. At the same time, there is also an incredibly low conditional threat for some strong or marginally severe thunderstorms to develop. What is a conditional threat for severe weather? Well, it means all of the atmospheric parameters need to come into place ever so perfectly for that threat of severe weather to come to fruition. And even as of right now, it really doesn't look like that's going to happen. If it were to happen, the threats associated with any strong or marginally severe thunderstorms would be the threat for some gustier winds, and then there is an isolated threat for a brief spin-up tornado. We'd be talking about the kind that are on the ground for 2 or 3 minutes, maybe upwards of 5 minutes at the most. They're really, really, really weak. But the one thing we're lacking is a lot of surface-based instability. It's really just non-existent given the amount of rain that we're going to get through the course of the afternoon. That rain is going to do a really good job at stabilizing our atmosphere. Still, there is a little bit of wind shear in place. Now, wind shear is a change in wind speed and wind direction as you go up in altitude, and so that's enough to create some gusty winds. But for the most part, through the course of the afternoon, the gusty winds would remain below severe limits. And then, of course, the heavy rain is all but a guarantee. As we kind of progress through your Friday morning, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, we're talking about showers and thunderstorms across the Tennessee Valley. Now, some of this activity might pack a bit of a punch. Maybe we throw in some gusty winds, frequent thunder and lightning, but this activity is going to be somewhat scattered. It's not going to become more widespread until we get to the early part of the afternoon. 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now we're talking about that widespread heaviest precipitation. And look at this, kind of lighter across northwest Alabama, heavier across northeast Alabama, locations east of the I-65 corridor. And that's going to somewhat remain the case through the course of the afternoon and then even as we head into the evening. 7 o'clock in the evening, widespread heavy rain, probably some embedded thunderstorms thrown into the mix. Once this heaviest precipitation builds into the Tennessee Valley, as we head into the early part of the afternoon, it's not going anywhere. It is just going to continue. We're going to talk about those continuation of the high rain rates. Even across northeast Alabama, 12 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, we're still talking about some incredibly heavy precipitation, and that's going to continue until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. We don't begin to dry out until we get to the later part of the morning. Rain is going to remain even possible through the early part of the afternoon, but that rain wouldn't be really anything worth ruining your day over. Once we get to the evening, we do begin to clear out a little bit, and we'll be talking about a mostly clear sky as we head into your Sunday. If you were wanting some numbers for temperatures this morning, the temperatures are kind of taking the back burner this time around. 64 at 7, 64 at 8, 65 by 9, 66 degrees by the time we get to 10 a.m. We do climb into the mid and upper 60s this afternoon. Some of us could see 70 degrees, but for the most part, we're talking about the mid and upper 60s. Temperatures this evening, 66 at 6, 65 at 7, 64 at 8, 63 by 9 o'clock. All told, temperatures are going to move like 5 or 6 degrees through the afternoon, and then as we head into the evening, we're not really going to begin to see temperatures drop across the Tennessee Valley until we get to Saturday night and then early Sunday morning. We only drop into the mid and upper 50s as we head into the overnight early Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon, we're talking about temperatures in the low and mid 60s. These numbers are probably going to occur before the lunch hour. And then we are cooler on Sunday. So 67, 63, just 42 degrees on Sunday. 46 Monday, 53 Tuesday, 51 on Wednesday, 42 degrees on Thursday. More sunshine Monday and Tuesday. Small opportunity for rain on Wednesday. Stick around to Fox 54 Plus. We have more weather and traffic updates coming up. Meteorologist Emily Owen will have a weather update for you today at 12 noon and then again at 4 p.m.
On this vote, the yeas are 230, the nays are 196. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
By all accounts, this was a massive attack that took place overnight on Ukraine, and you already mentioned some of the sort of data, some of the numbers that we're getting from the Ukrainians with around, I think it was 242 drones, several ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and then that Oreshnik missile as well, which is a gigantic weapons that the Russians have actually only used one time in the past to hit the Ukrainian city of Dnipro, and that was at a time when they were at a standoff with the then Biden administration around possible missiles that the U.S. was then giving to the Ukrainians. So this is certainly a big escalation on the part of the Russians, and one of the first times that they've actually used this missile. And what we've heard from the Ukrainians so far also makes this quite significant, in that the Ukrainians say that it struck near the town of Lviv, fairly close to the border with Poland, so fairly close to the border with NATO. So not only did the Russians use a massive weapons, they also used it very close to the borders of the NATO alliance. And we know from the Russians that they've sort of been putting this weapon out there as one of the sort of mega weapons that they have, saying that it can't be intercepted, that even in a conventional setting that it unleashes the force almost of a nuclear explosion, and certainly something that you don't mess with. Essentially, the Oreshnik is a modified intercontinental ballistic missile that the Russians have now modified to use in the medium range setting. And they have, in recent days and weeks, said that this missile is now on combat duty. They've stationed some of those missiles in neighboring Belarus, which is, of course, a big ally of the Russians. But certainly the messaging from the Russians very much seems to be that you can't mess with the Russians. They are going to continue their military operation in Ukraine, and certainly also the Russians recently feeling some friction with the U.S. and also with the U.S.'s NATO allies as well.
For decades, if you dropped off a mail-in ballot in the mailbox by voting day, the postmark would prove you voted on time, thus counting your vote. But in a recent statement, the agency called it a myth that postmarks are a guaranteed service provided to prove a mailing date. Instead, officials say the postmark is an internal tool used to cancel postage, and that the date is determined when an envelope hits the sorting machine at a regional hub. Fox 54's Logan Alexandra Russell breaks down what this means for you.
In the past, people assumed the moment they dropped their mail off, whether it would be in a mailbox or to a carrier, that it was officially mailed on that day. However, that is not the case. The reality is the USPS only stamps the date or postmark when your letter reaches a regional processing hub and goes through a giant sorting machine. Under the new rules, the date on your mail now reflects when it was processed at a regional hub, not necessarily when you handed it to a postal worker or dropped it in a collection box. This means if your letter sits in a truck or at a local facility overnight before hitting the automated sorting machines, it could be postmarked a day or even several days late. For example, if you mail a letter on Monday, it might not get to the hub until Tuesday and processed until Tuesday, which means it will be postmarked on Tuesday. Many have concerns about what this could mean for voting ballots or important mail that rely on the postmark date.
Doesn't matter what the postmark is. It's like they go to the post office box and they open the box and whatever's sitting there, those are the ones that they count. You know, anything before or up to that point, they count on election day. The big message is to start early.
USPS says it did not create postmarks for the public's benefit, but their own internal purposes. Postal offices recommend going inside to the retail counter to request a manual postmark for time-sensitive documents. In Huntsville, Logan Alexandra Russell, Fox 54 News.
You can find the United States Postal Service's statement and information on the new rule on our website, fox54.com.
That's a wrap on CES 2026, but before we go, here's a recap of some of the gadgets that we saw on the show floor that caught our attention.
People are absolutely loving it. It's already won 9 Best in Show awards from different venues and press outlets. It is 9mm thick, and that is the serious wow factor with this TV. What's really cool about it is it has this Zero Connect box. And what's amazing about the Zero Connect box is that you connect all your plugs through HDMI into the box, and then it wirelessly transmits that signal across the room to the TV.
We've really aimed to optimize Communicator for modern communications. So the BlackBerry era was all about email, and today we communicate through all sorts of different mediums, whether that's chat apps or things like Slack. Click's Power Keyboard is one keyboard for all your smart devices, whether that's your phone, your smart TV, your tablet, or even your AR/VR headset. It gives you the benefit of buttons on everything you use.
The Lego Smart Brick looks just like a traditional Lego 2x4 brick. It clicks into your Lego bricks just as you would expect them to be, but it is just packed with a ton of technology.
It recognizes which smart figure you're using. So yeah, you can have Luke flying the X-Wing, but you know what? You can tell your own story, and you can take Luke out of that. You can put Princess Leia flying the X-Wing. You can put Darth Vader flying the X-Wing. And what's really amazing about this system is it will know who that character is that's piloting it and will react accordingly. So really opens up an imaginative world of play. It's been a long journey to get here, and to know that everyone else has been as excited about it as we've been is just tremendously rewarding, I think.
We'll see you next year, and don't forget to check out our coverage of Worst in Show at apnews.com.
Now, why did you become a comedian?
Sex.
I see.
The one and only Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, the 99-year-old man, looks at the comedy legend's extraordinary life and career, featuring new interviews and rare archival footage. The 2-part documentary premieres January 22nd on HBO and HBO Max.
What the hell going on? Oh, we heard tale of a party.
Nominations are out for the Directors Guild of America Film Awards. Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, and Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. The 78th Annual DGA Awards take place February 7th.
I'm sailing away.
This year's Puppy Bowl is set. It's Team Rough versus Team Fluff, plus 15 pups with special needs, and Team Oldies versus Team Goldies, spotlighting senior dogs available for adoption. 150 dogs from more than 70 shelters take the field February 8th on Animal Planet. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
2026 is a big year on the big screen.
Big blockbusters, tons of family movies, lots of horror movies. It could be one of the biggest years, I would say, that we've had post-COVID, if not the biggest year since 2019, 2018.
We'll start with superheroes, sci-fi, and Star Wars. So The Mandalorian and Grogu are going to be in theaters.
This is the first year since 2019 that we're having both a Star Wars movie and an Avengers movie in the same year.
Okay, this does not look like this is gonna end well. Superheroes include Supergirl, Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and Avengers Doomsday.
All of the Avengers movies have grossed over $1 billion worldwide, and this Avengers Doomsday is stacked. They're bringing in the old X-Men characters from the Fox days.
There are epics from legendary directors.
Steven Spielberg, Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg returning to Aliens and, you know, sort of about like disclosing aliens and the existence of aliens and alien craft. Christopher Nolan is back. This time he's taking on an adaptation of one of the oldest stories ever told, Homer's The Odyssey. And of course, Denis Villeneuve is back with a third Dune movie based on Dune Messiah.
I'm several light years from my apartment.
I'm gonna throw in another one, which is part of my new favorite genre, which is Ryan Gosling in space. So, Project Hail Mary.
This is directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Ryan Gosling plays an astronaut, kind of stuck in space, having to realize and how to save humanity. Kind of reminds me of The Martian. And it's funny because this is going to be the first movie that Ryan Gosling is stuck in space. And then next year, he is going to return to space for a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
I'm not an astronaut.
Just some of many new movies on the way this new year. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Mermaid news, gamers can now play as one. Help, I'm Turning Into a Mermaid is a life sim where, as the title states, your character becomes a mermaid. The anime-styled adventure is playable now via Steam. PeachNet is described as a flick fighting game and is playable solo or against a friend. The game is out now for PC from Steam. Taking pictures of cats isn't just for social media posts. Snapcat, Mia's Cozy Adventure, is a game where you seek out cats and take pictures of them. The game is out now for Nintendo Switch. Leveling Up in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damagella.
Fox 54 Plus has your news, sports, and weather. Start your evening with Fox 54 at 5:30, delivering the latest headlines and live reports straight from the scene. Then, stay informed with Fox 54 News at 9, featuring your Tennessee Valley certified most accurate weather impact team, tracking everything from tornado threats to traffic delays during severe weather. Fox 54 Sports Extra brings you more of what sports fans crave, with deeper insights, expert analysis, and all the action that matters most. On Fox 54 Plus, you'll also find Alabama politics, plus 24/7 weather radar and real-time forecasts to keep you ahead of the storm. Looking for a quick recap? Don't miss Fox 54 Week in Review, highlighting the biggest stories of the week. Jumpstart your morning with Morning Rush. fast-paced news updates featured with uplifting stories from across the globe. Get your entertainment fix with Getting Real, where we break down movie reviews, top 10 lists, and spotlight the newest film. Die Hard fan? Locked On Sports dives deep into the Crimson Tide, the Tigers, college rivalries, and pro action. True Crime Warrior Style? Killer Cases brings you gripping real-life stories that stick with you. Hungry for more? Cooking with Style serves up mouth-watering recipes that are easy to make and impossible to resist. From movie previews before you head to the theater with Take a Look to must-know headlines from across the region and around the world with In the News. Watch all of these shows on demand and also on the Fox 54 News app. Available on Android and iOS devices. Streaming 24/7.